Deep Dive Film School makes no claim of ownership of the film footage used in this episode. The film footage is owned entirely by the copyright holders. Also, we're going to spoil the hell out of this movie, so this is your warning. Welcome to Deep Dive Film School!
This week we're going to get into 2020's tops and flops.
Pandemic Edition!
Let's dive in.
All right, everybody, I am Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Palcher.
And if you like what you see/hear, please like and subscribe on all the spaces and places that people find good media.
That's right. We do all sorts of things. We do festivals every week. We do, recastables. We do
punishment reviews.
We do all sorts of
hidden
stuff.
gems.
101s.
Yeah, all
Hidden
kinds
gems,
of stuff.
101s.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to grow this channel with lots of love, and we'd love you to subscribe as long as you're not an asshole.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go.
So please do that. All right, let's get into 2020 Pandemic Edition. Obviously an insane year. We're probably can't say anything that no one else has said about this year. Probably if we're doing tops and flops, 2020 gonna be a flop in the history books, I think.
Yeah, but I would say
all negative.
Whether positive or a negative, and I'm paraphrasing the Annie Hall quote, which is actually a Groucho Marx quote, which is the terrible food and such small portions, right? So I think when it comes to both the positive and the negative, there wasn't a lot to choose from all the way around, just because it was so sparse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So much got delayed. So much that we were excited to see the new Dune. A variety of other things that and then we saw a lot of people put their stuff on streaming, straight to streaming. There was a lot of choices there, but not the normal, not your normal year, especially in theaters where that was pretty much a wasteland, barren. I saw
Tenet, right?
Few Tenet this year in there in the theater, and it's actually really safe, but of course it is because no one's there. But it's it's an interesting year. Definitely not as much. I know I was joking with you offline that Bill and Ted's Face the Music will probably get nominated for best song at the Oscars. So I really hope that happens.
It would be an amazing boon to be like, it took what, 3-4 decades to make, or 3.5 decades to make another Bill and Ted's, and then when they finally were able to do it,
Bill and Ted's,
by default they won all these awards because of a worldwide pandemic. And it's like, it would just be that feeling of like, can't take it back, right? Like, look, you think people were mad about
have you actually watched Bad Boys for Life? It's definitely a Best Picture nominee.
Listen, you think people were mad about Marissa Tomei winning an award for My Cousin Vinny? And they're like, this can't be right. There were too many other. It's like, you imagine how mad people would be if they were like, best drama, Bad Boys for Life.
Anyways, least to say, it is a crazy year. Luckily, at the beginning of the year, before the pandemic, I got to go to Sundance and crank out a bunch of movies there. So that's always, and maybe that's where I'll start because, I have 2 movies that would be my top 2 movies of the year, but it's in this weird transition of they're not going to be released until the beginning of next year. And those 2 movies are The Father and 9 Days. The Anthony Hopkins movie is The Father, and 9 Days is a debut film, and just stunned me. And I loved it so much.
You talked about this on our Sundance episode, correct?
Yeah. So I'm actually going to reserve those for next year because I did a lot of research for this, and both of those weren't showing up very much.
You're a stickler for the rules, Palcher.
I'm a stickler for the rules, I guess. But I also like, I guess I'm just hoping that next year there's going to be movies that are better than The Father in 9 Days, because they easily would have been my 1 and 2 this year without question. And hopefully there's 5 movies that are better than those, which is going to be hard to imagine. and that means we'll just have a great year. So who knows what will happen with that. I do have a third movie from that Sundance one that I did see on a lot of lists, so I'll go ahead and start with this. Before I actually jump in, let's, for those new listeners or people on the channel, how we've done the tops and flops in the past. Do you want to kind of explain the structure of the show?
Yeah, sure. Historically, on our old podcast, Palcher just in general watches way more movies than I do. Like way, way, way more. And so while initially we tried to do best of the year and we would both bring in our best, if I had watched 5 movies that year, that was a miracle. But more likely than not, even if I had, there were ones you had seen also because they were popular enough that they ended up in my kind of cloud. And then usually it was a lot of like really bad straight to video horror movies because I'm a child. And so considering those things, it just didn't make sense for both of us to do a best of. So instead,
plus you're way more cynical than I am.
That is very true. That's a very good point. And so due to that, we thought what made more sense is for Palcher to do the movies out of all the movies that he saw over the course of the year, his favorites plucked from that. And then mine are the movies that I watched a trailer for and then made the face that you make when you've smelled the milk that's at the back of the fridge. So mine are really like the top 5 I'm really glad I didn't see. I'm
very excited. Always excited for your list. I always have fun. Let me start off with my number 5. This was a movie I did see at Sundance and got a lot of pub, did really well on the critic circuit, and it is one that I think it won the audience award, but it is Lee Isaac Chung's Minari. You know, this is an immigrant story of a Korean family immigrating to Arkansas.
That little boy is about the cutest thing.
Oh my God. The whole family is just wonderful, and like even when they're mad at each other, you're just like, oh, I love you guys. You guys are the best. Like
you're gonna do great. You're gonna be just fine.
You know, obviously they have their troubles, and you know there's a cultural disconnect, and you know it has also this cute little grandma in it. Now, I guess she is kind of an asshole, but think of the grandma in The Farewell a little bit. Like I would say this is this year's Farewell. I really love The Farewell, but you know, obviously this is Korea in America, not China in America, but it has a similar type of immigrant story and kind of the two culture clash a little bit, and just kind of understanding different cultures and where you're coming from and where you're at now and the differences and that kind of stuff. So beautiful, well done movie. Steven Yeun plays the main guy in this, and he's absolutely amazing. There's some great side performances as well, but just kind of one of those lovely movies that you just walk away from and are just you gotta smile on your face.
Well, and I love that.
Really enjoyed it.
I love that little tidbit there of Steven Yeun in this sense of like he made his name in Western popular TV, right, and movies, obviously, but to then see him be able to go and do this thing that is very much a cultural touchstone kind of movie, like that's just so cool. Like I think that it goes to show why having more diversity in actors, even just in American stuff, is so important, because then it means that you can do something that is very personal, is culturally significant, has people from the right culture to be able to make your movie, and you can still have a star turn in it. Right. And you go, that's so cool to be able to be like, oh, we were just able to put him into this and have it work. Like that's, you know, and I think The Farewell does kind of the same thing. And I think that's always like, it's so cool when you're able to make that match work.
Very similar type of movies. I could definitely see it getting some run at the Oscars this year and that type of stuff. So, all right, you're number 5.
My number 5, to start off with a joke that I'm going to take from John Mulaney, which I believe was at the Actors Guild Awards last year, I want to say. But it's, how long does it take to come back from getting canceled? Well, Mel Gibson let us know this year because he starred in everything, right? And it's like, so apparently you can be an awful human being and still get your career rebooted to some degree. But I gotta say, let's don't make Mel Gibson a thing again, please. But that didn't stop him from starring in 2 movies. I'm doing my number 5 is 2 Mel Gibson pictures.
Cheater.
Fat Man. Which
the Santa Claus
the Santa Claus movie, which I was just like, no, let's don't. It looks so hackneyed and dumb.
I'm sure the trailer is terrible.
Well, it is terrible.
I've seen the picture of
it. And it's one of those. It's something you and your friends laugh really hard about when you come up with the idea for the movie and then cast it when you're sitting around the bar trying to make each other laugh by coming up with bad movie ideas. But you don't actually make the fucking movie. And they did. So Fat Man is one of them. The other one, which I think is way worse, is Force of Nature, which is it's Mel Gibson and then an ensemble cast where they are going to do a heist and they're going to do a bank robbery during the Puerto Rican hurricane. And what is really tasteless about that is that the movie centers around a group of white people going to do this bank heist during this really, really recent event where tons of people died and were homeless and were they're still rebuilding over there. And Hollywood managed to make a movie about it, starring Mel Gibson and his team.
It sounds like a sandwich movie.
Sandwich movies are movies where instead of making the movie, what if you sent that money to Puerto Rico? Just saying, just throwing that out there. How about that amount of money for that movie in bottles of clean water for Puerto Rico? Just a thought. Just a thought. That's my number 5.
You bleeding heart liberal.
I am. I totally am. I'm such an asshole.
All right, my number 4. My number 4 is a movie that we have talked about. Actually, it is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Charlie Kaufman. This would probably be a little further down my list if this was a normal year. But when I make these lists, what I'm really looking for is originality. Right? Something I haven't seen before, something that is going to change my mind, something that is going to convert me to that person or the story or whatever it may be. And, I had read the book, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and loved the book and was excited to see what Charlie Kaufman had to do to it. And he put his own original vision and created probably not as much terror as I wanted him to, but still a significant amount of layers in this movie. And on rewatches, this movie becomes more brilliant. I think I've seen it 3 times now, and it's just a strange, new, weird movie. And that's what Kaufman does. That's how he's been embraced by society, is being the guy to do original weird stuff.
I love this.
He knocked it out of the park here. Obviously, go to our full-length review if you want to see, or our full review where we both talk about it. But
I love this. I love that I've been able to witness your whole journey with this movie, because I know, and I talk about it in our full review, that you loved the book so much, and that your initial thoughts on the movie was like, ah, and that
the first time I saw it,
your journey through it though. Now it's your number 4 of the year. I think that's amazing. I love that.
For sure. And I mentioned, I think when we reviewed it, that it was one of the best films of the year. I don't know if I liked it as much as the book, but seeing what Kaufman did with it and the changes he made, I appreciated from a visual perspective. And there's just some things you can't do in a book that you can do in a movie, and vice versa. But just the beauty of how beautiful this movie is, how weird it is, how strange the characters are, and what's actually happening the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you throw Kaufman and his artistic brain on and pour it on top of everything. And it's just it's an interesting, wild movie. And again, original, which is what I'm looking for when I'm ranking these.
And I'm always interested in what scares him, because what scares him is always super interesting. And most of his movies are about stuff that scares him. And sometimes directors make that more playful and more fun. But usually at some point you're like, oh no, actually, if I strip away the funny parts of that, that's the scariest thing I've ever thought about, right? And so it's great to see that. My number 4, when I first saw this trailer, The very beginning of the trailer, I was so excited. We see Kevin Bacon.
Just to reiterate, he's never seen any of these movies.
I've never seen any of these movies.
Pure speculation.
Pure speculation.
Batman could be the best movie ever.
I mean, it could, but come on, it's not. Maybe it's someone out there that's their favorite movie. That's the shittiest part about there being so many people on this planet, is that for someone out there, Fat Man is their favorite movie. Anyway,
best Christmas movie ever.
Best Christmas movie ever. Okay, so this trailer I saw Kevin Bacon, and they had moved into this house, or this like rental, and he's going around with a tape measure, and he's like, the inside of this room, of these two rooms together, is bigger than the outside of this house. And I was like, oh, because as a guy who loves horror literature, I went, oh my God, they finally made a movie version of House of Leaves. Like, hell yeah. Guess what? It's not. It's a movie called You Should Have Left, based on a Swedish book that just full on rips off the exact same premise as House of Leaves. Now, it goes to a totally different place. It's a very traditional horror thriller movie. But I was like, that is the most original spooky concept ever. And it was made in a book that I believe was released in like 1998 or something. Like it's an older book. Like, that concept is well known for Mark Daniel Zauer. I can't remember his name. Anyway, that author, we'll put it up here.
Yep.
But once I found that out, I was like, nope, totally different movie. I was like, okay, that's kind of dumb. And then we meet Kevin Bacon's wife in the movie, played by Amanda Seyfried. That's not weird at all. That's so normal for her to be his wife, even though the first time that we saw Amanda Seyfried, she played the daughter of Bill Paxton, who the actor Bill Paxton was born 3 years before Kevin Bacon. So that's not gross at all.
You're talking age difference, yeah.
Have someone 30-year age difference, and my wife, not my daughter, who it obviously should be. Because when you first meet her in the trailer, you're like, oh, and then you go, oh, that's a loving embrace for a father and daughter. And then you're like, oh man, come on. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kevin Bacon looks great for being in his mid-60s. Looks great. He should not be married to Amanda Seyfried. She's a great actress, but give me a break. It's not okay. Awesome. Yeah, disappointment just on the fact that it wasn't House of Leaves, and then double disappointment on like, come on, you guys. Like, it's totally okay for Kevin Bacon to be married to someone his own age in the movie.
I'd love to see House of Leaves be made into a movie. It seems almost unfilmable.
Yeah, or a series at the very least. It would have to be like an HBO series. Then you could potentially do it. But you still wouldn't be able to make the reader feel like that they're being haunted. Makes the reader be like, is this bad? Should I be reading this? Like, is my house going to get haunted because I'm reading this? Very few things can make you feel that way. So anyway, just
wonderful book.
A whiff and a miss. I love Kevin Bacon, but just some stupid things going on there.
How dare you?
I mean, really though.
No, I haven't seen it. I know what you're talking about, and I remember the trailer. Didn't put the connection between the age difference, but what are you gonna do? All right, my number 3. This was a surprise movie for me. I guess it shouldn't be. It is Kelly Reichardt's new movie, First Cow. Kelly Reichardt is the girl who did Meek's Cutoff.
That's right.
Certain Women and a few other things. She goes back to settler times here, and we're in probably, I think, 1820s or something like that in Oregon, or at least the Northwest. And this baker gets hooked up with this Chinese kind of runaway guy, and it's kind of a bromance movie. And they start a business and become very successful. And this is a very, if you know Kelly Reichardt's stuff, she's kind of became famous for the mumblecore stuff with Old Joy, and Wendy and Lucy and that kind of stuff. Meek's Cutoff is my favorite movie of hers.
Yeah,
so it's really fun to see her go back here. But anyone who's seen her stuff knows that it's pretty slow paced. You have to kind of, I guess just take some time with it and kind of embrace like the slowness that's at the beginning of it. And it ends up picking up a little bit the story, but like, she doesn't move the camera very much. You're kind of just sitting in one place. So you're a fly on the wall for a lot of her stuff, but this was such a fun, charming little movie. And they, I don't want to kind of spoil what their business is or what it gets into, but it was this lovely little story that I wasn't expecting to like really enjoy as much as I did. And I thought about it for days after, and it was just a lovely little well done movie that I just don't think got a ton of recognition this year, and wanted to put it out there because I really loved it and more people should see it.
Yeah, I want to see this. The trailer, and maybe I was just having an off day, but the trailer almost got me misty because it's just so beautiful, and I love this idea of. I'm fascinated by these kinds of creation stories, these kinds of origin stories for things.
Yeah.
Like I always, I don't know anybody who's familiar with Eric Larson, who while he also writes about these really big, important things. He also writes about stuff like the architecture of like, this is the biggest building they tried to build in this time period, right? Or like, here's how they wrote the very first dictionary. Like, and you just go, oh yeah, somebody had to do that first. Like, it's a thing now, but like before it was a thing, it was this weird thing. And even just in the trailer, like seeing them trying to explain like, here's why this is important. With the cow, like it's just brilliant because you just go, oh, I can see how it could start off as this kind of like not silly endeavor, but just this idea that maybe doesn't feel that important until you kind of dig your heels in, and then you're like, oh my God, it's huge. It's so important.
It's changed everything.
Yeah. I love those kinds of stories.
Yeah, for sure. And you think of in settlers' time and the multiple uses of a cow and that type of stuff. Like people didn't even know what milk was.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty interesting. I don't want to give too much away, which is why I'm not going super deep into the story, but highly recommended. It is a slow paced one. So, make sure you're signed up for something like that and just give it some time. But I ended up really loving this movie. And I don't mind a slow paced movie.
Yeah.
So that's me. All right, your number 3.
My number 3 is a movie. I don't know if you heard of it. It was called Stardust.
Not the Neil Gaiman Stardust.
No, not that one. This one. Okay, if you were going to make a biopic about David Bowie.
Okay, I know
what would be the number one most important thing that you got right?
Someone that could sing or act?
Okay, let's go layer deeper or even earlier than that. So like, okay, you're one of the producers on this biopic about David Bowie. And you have a checklist of things that you need to make sure are ready to go before you say, yes, we're going to do this. Before actor that can sing, what do you have?
The actor that knows who David Bowie is.
That's pretty good. How about permission to use any David Bowie songs?
Oh, whoops.
So,
they don't have Bowie songs in there?
So... The estate, Bowie's estate, did not approve the film to use any of David Bowie's music, so there is not one David Bowie song performed in this movie. What? Instead, Stardust has Bowie performing covers that Bowie performed during that period, such as I Wish You Would by the Yardbirds and My Death by Jacques Brel.
Come on.
So they even have him dolled up in the Ziggy Stardust outfit, but they
just
can't
covers?
Do any of the Ziggy Stardust songs.
That is criminal.
Right. And then this is not important at all, because I didn't see this movie either, but the only other movie that this director was well known for that did Stardust, Gabriel Range, his only other really well-known movie was the fictional political documentary Death of a President, which was the movie about the assassination of George W. Bush.
Oh
Do you
my
remember?
God.
Do you remember like for 2
Yeah.
minutes hearing about that, and there was like people were like outraged, and you were like, really? Somebody made like a fake movie about killing W. Bush, but like they did.
Yeah.
It's that director,
Whoa.
and then he did a
Whoa.
biopic of Bowie, and they couldn't
With
use
no Bowie
with no
songs.
Bowie songs. Like,
What a waste.
why wouldn't you
Oh
just
my
stop?
God.
You could just stop. You could stop and be like, you know what? We're not going to do it. Never mind. We're going to wait till we even if they could just get like fucking Ground Control. If they could just get that one song,
Yeah, just get one song.
Just get
Yeah,
one.
just get one.
right? Spend half the money. You know who else is in it? Unfortunately, is our guy Mark Maron.
Mark Maron. I remember seeing
Yeah.
on his Instagram feed him being dressed up like the 70s.
Yeah,
That's too bad.
he plays his agent. And
I wonder if he knew that whole little tidbit of no Bowie song.
you know what?
There's
Knowing
no way
him,
he
there's
would've
no
signed
way.
on.
There's no way he would have.
He got
Like they
kicked
were
out of
like,
that.
don't worry. And it could be that they filmed. I bet there is so much cutout footage of this dude, this actor, Johnny Flynn, who's playing David Bowie, lip syncing to all these songs. And then they were like, at the 11th hour, they were like, family says no. They said no. Okay, we're gonna have him do a Yardbird song and fuck it, right? Like we gotta go. We have no choice.
All right, my number two. We'll stick with the music theme here a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of this movie, but my number two is the movie Sound of Metal.
I love this movie. I watched
Rez
this.
Ahmed. You watched this.
I love
yes.
this.
I watched this just a few weeks ago and was
It kind of scared the hell out of me. It kind of
captivated.
Yeah.
But this heavy metal drummer kind of slowly, he's been to too many shows in his life and he's slowly going deaf. And he gets to the point where, you're really seeing this movie through his point of view.
yeah.
And the way they use sound here, and he loses 80% of his sound, and obviously that's a major thing when you're a drummer. And
80% of his hearing. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did I say?
Sound.
Okay, yeah, 80% of his hearing,
Yeah.
but obviously a major thing. He had struggled with drugs in the past, and something like that can easily make you relapse. But he ends up finding a safe space, and it's just a really interesting story, especially how they use the aspects, but getting this point of view of this, someone going deaf and slowly going deaf, and really like how can you survive on just 20% hearing? It's really really tough to hear, but I was really it was easily quickly like, oh, this movie's brilliant. I love where it's going. I love how it ended.
The way it was directed, like you said, the sound
how
design.
it looked, yeah.
Oh.
So good.
And his performance, because we basically before this we've seen him play the same character twice. I think he played the same character in Nightcrawler that he did in Rogue One, which is like the kind of scared guy that's going, "What's going on?" And to see him here center stage, God, he was amazing.
I agree. The HBO series The Night Of with John Turturro and him is absolutely stunning. That's where I first saw him.
Oh, okay.
But he is in both of those movies as well. Obviously, people may know him more from that. But no, I love he's an incredible character actor.
Yeah, he's incredible.
I hope he gets more stuff because I really like him. I like him getting weird. He seems like someone who's not afraid to get weird. I look very much forward to his career and what he's going to do. Love this movie. I think this one got pushed under the rug too. I think it's streaming on Amazon. So
it is. That's how I saw it, and it absolutely it blew me away. And again, as a musician, as somebody who still plays really loud music, like it scared the hell out of me because they got so much of like so often. And I've talked about
too
this
many
before.
shows, right?
Well, and I've talked about this before with you of like anytime you see like a punk rocker or something like in a movie, like everything's wrong because it's like a gang member from an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, where you're like, that's a 35-year-old white guy who's like a dad that's got like a bandana on, and you're like, he's a gang leader, and you're like, gross, like you don't know what you're talking about. And here the look and feel of the world that he exists in before his hearing goes looks so much like my life, like or all of our friends' lives. Like just where it's like, he is this drummer and he has been in this scene forever. And like, to suddenly be like, here's your whole identity and it's gone. Right? This is the music. This is what you listen to that's kept you off drugs. You're in love with the guitarist singer that you're touring with. Sure. And you're hiding from everybody the fact that like your hearing is gone. Ugh. Amazing movie.
Absolutely. Well, it made me think of you, actually. And I remember for about a month in the 2000s, I can't remember when, maybe it was even in the 2010s, you lost your voice.
Yeah.
And you're a teacher, you're a singer, and you're a podcaster.
Yeah.
And so your voice is very important. And you were the saddest I've ever seen you in that month. Can you imagine a whole movie about that and a whole sense being taken away?
Yeah.
Like,
it's your
I
identity.
don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting.
That's so funny that you said that. Yeah. Yeah. It's your whole identity, you know, and it's like your ability to both communicate as well as to just to understand the world around you, you know, and oh, it's terrifying. Okay. Let's switch to something not terrifying.
Number 2.
My number 2, I saw the trailer for this. I saw the trailer for this at there's a movie theater here in Salt Lake where you can also drink beers, and I saw I want to say it was Broovies. I want to say I was there to see the 3rd new Star Wars movie, the Rise of Skywalker. Is that no? Which is that? Is it Rise of Skywalker? Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, it just sucks.
It's fine. It's a kids movie. It's not.
It sucks.
It's no different than like any other kids movie. It's like, who gives a shit? It's all just laser swords and bullshit. Anyway,
not all kids movies are that bad.
Anyway, a group of us were having beers when this trailer came on, and we started laughing ourselves silly to the point where the first 5 minutes of Rise of Skywalker I missed because I was still laughing about this. My number 2 is The Call of the Wild.
Oh.
Here's my
Harrison Ford.
Here's my
Speaking
question.
of Star Wars.
Here's my question. Hasn't Harrison Ford spent the last decade trying to weasel his way out of being involved in any movies or any kind of franchises? Or
like, what got you to sign up for this and this like CGI dog?
Dude,
like,
you spent the last decade killing off all the most beloved characters you ever made because you just want to be an old curmudgeon and sit at home, and then you made. The whole point of Jack London's original book is that the dog is this force of nature, right? Like the dog is what drags back out of this old grizzled guy his understanding about the world around him. That's the whole point. So you go, everything hinges on the dog, and then the dog is fucking Jar Jar Binks. And so you're like, how does any of this even remotely work? It doesn't make any sense at all. And then the reason why we couldn't stop laughing. So again, the dog is CGI, as well as some of the other animals that appear in the movie. And the thing that I couldn't stop laughing about is that like this unbridled giggles that we had is because Ford is one of those guys that no matter how much zhuzh you throw in the movie around him, you just know how miserable he is. Like he can't act his way out of just that
look. Look like he's having fun. No.
Never. And so it doesn't matter if there's like it's him on a motorcycle and there's spider monkeys following all CGI spider monkeys following all around him, or he's on top of like this amazing beautiful skyscraper and he's in the new Blade Runner movie. You just look at him, right? You look past all the zhuzh at his face and you're like, he's miserable. So now you imagine him playing opposite either a green tennis ball, which is your best case scenario, a green tennis ball on a stick, right? And he's going, I don't know, don't look at me. I wanted to take the big boat, or whatever his stupid lines in this thing are. Or that's your best case scenario. Or it's some Andy Serkis style asshole in a super tight lycra mocap suit that's pretending to be a dog next to him. And it is endlessly unintentionally funny to me, where I just through that entire thing I was like, he's got to be so angry, and I don't know, his agent or his wife or whoever that put him there, because he didn't want to be there. So I'm just like, I love it. Like I almost kind of want to punishment watch the movie just to picture in those moments. Like, I want to watch a scene and then find a behind the scenes scene of that same thing where it's him talking to the tennis ball, or the you know, the kid in the little mocap suit next to him, like, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh God, it's just.
And he's also important just to organize my eye line where I was looking, and to give me someone to participate with emotionally.
Remember me?
It was at first a bit challenging, but then became quite good fun.
It's so funny to me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's such a good one. That's such a good one. I know, like, Harrison, if you're going to make this kind of movie, like, remake Jeremiah Johnson or something.
Totally.
Right? Like, what are you doing?
Or just bow the fuck out. Like, you killed off every character we ever cared about that you ever made. He should just do
I'm
it.
sure Indiana Jones will be back.
Oh, you know what I want him to just do is do like a 5-minute Funny or Die video of him and Tommy Lee Jones, where Tommy Lee Jones just shoots him in the head, and then we know that the fugitive can never come back, and he can just cross one more off his list.
The Fugitive 2.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Or maybe, you know, I don't know, Regarding Henry dies softly in a bed somewhere, you know, like.
Oh, I love Regarding Henry.
It is.
Awesome.
It's a great one. It's a good one. He had to get shot in the head to become a good person. It's such a good movie.
The asshole lawyer.
Yep.
Wonderful.
All right, go ahead.
My number one. This movie, and again, I want to reiterate, The Father and 9 Days would easily be here. Loved both of those movies. Look out for those in the upcoming year. Put them on your list. They're fucking outstanding. But I'm going with another Sundance movie here, and part of it is because it's an original documentary and something I haven't quite seen before, which I always love, especially with a documentary that is so overdone and overmade, especially these days. But is the movie Dick Johnson is Dead.
I knew it. I knew it was going to be.
I think it's not only because of the movie. I had a very unique experience at Sundance watching this because Kirsten Johnson, who's normally a cinematographer, been a filmmaker for decades, makes this movie about her father. But it was the most engaging Q&A I've ever been to. She got down in the audience. She was crawling right up next to you, talking to you, and had these amazing points of view. And it's totally encapsulated me through the whole time. I'll show a video of it because I captured it on my phone.
You've all lived. You've all seen some movies. I don't need to explain anything to you. Like, I just need to share what troubles us all, right? And what my needs are, what my dad's needs are in this, but it's like I'm trying to do it with respect for all of us, knowing we all grapple, you know, with the loss of Rosemary and everybody else. And it doesn't make any sense to all of us, and we all don't want it to happen. So what do we do, and how do we share that collectively?
She's kind of a part of the movie here, but it's really more about her dad. But have you watched the movie? Have you seen it?
I haven't, but
Everyone go watch it. It's PG-13. It's just lovely, and it has this really interesting view on death, and it's basically just kind of slowly watching her dad fade away. You know, I mean, it's in the title, Dick Johnson is Dead, and Dick Johnson is the best guy ever. You want him to be everyone's dad. He is awesome.
Well, don't you wish everybody could make a movie like that about a person they love that passes away? Like,
totally
so of course she's like pumped to be there and be like, I made my movie.
Yes.
Like,
and she kills him in a variety of ways in this movie.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's so funny and charming, and he has such a great sense of humor about it. But there's also these really, really real moments of them. He's fading away. He's not you can't live here anymore. You can't drive a car anymore. Like stuff like this. These real life moments of someone who's aging, and someone who's accepting that aging and watching it happen and trying to help and everything. And it's amazing. Just for Dick Johnson himself, it was completely worth it. Easily my number one without taking those other two in consideration. Had so much fun. Watched it with my family, and they were just like, that was just so interesting. So please go watch it. Definitely up there for me this year.
That's so cool. And then to end with my curmudgeon-y,
yes,
my curmudgeon ending here. My number one is there. Apparently, producers thought so. and a director and actors. And Michael Bay certainly did. But does anyone want to watch a Michael Bay movie about the COVID pandemic that takes place in 2023? So our starting off point is that we are in the 4th year of the pandemic.
What's the movie though?
It's called Songbird. And it was made this last summer. And it's like dystopic. Everyone is still locked in their houses. And COVID-23 is on the loose. And we live in a police state now. And I was like, who here would possibly want to watch that? That sounds like the most. I don't know, man. We don't need another dystopic future movie. We're in it. We're living it right now. Like if you're,
I assume people watched it though. I don't know if they did, but I remember when in March when all the shit hit the fan and everything started shutting down, Contagion was like the #1 movie,
right?
That people were watching.
Yeah, well,
so there's some appetite for it.
And The Stand was the #1 book, but again, at least when you're thinking about that, there's some separation.
Sure,
but to literally tell people
a little too soon.
Yeah, a little too on the nose. Again, to go back to the assassination of George W. Bush movie, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe don't do that. I don't know. Maybe just let it breathe for a minute. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to be like like when I saw the trailer for Songbird and it was like, you know, in the year 2023, COVID-23 has kept people in their homes. I was like, trigger warning. I don't want anything to do with this. I want to turn that off. Like, I don't like.
But it's Michael Bay.
Yeah, everyone has their fingers crossed for the vaccine that's happening right now. Like, we don't need to think about. Like, it would literally be if like
worst case scenario.
Like okay,
that's what they should have called the movie.
Yeah, well, what do we... It was just like, you call during, like, in the year 2001, at the end of the year 2001, Roland Emmerich puts out a movie called 9/12, and it's about, like, the world's largest airplane, like, hitting the White House. You'd be like, you know, Roland, I realize that you like these big bombastic films, but let's just give it a minute, man. Just give it a couple of minutes before doing that, nice. Please.
I want to mention a few before we end.
Yes, of course.
That didn't make my list that were kind of 6 to 10-ish. Tenet was on there mostly because it was just an experience of a film, just a wild movie. I don't know how they made it. The amazing Pixar movie Soul with Jamie Foxx that just came out.
I can't wait to see that.
Such a good good Pixar movie. A documentary called Time about this relationship that got these two African American folks went to rob a bank and got caught and got put in jail, and the husband is still in jail after 20 years. And this movie has been filmed over 20 years of trying.
Oh my God.
You know, she's recording herself when, you know, like the week it happened, and she's like, things are gonna change now, and like you'll be out soon, and it just becomes this whole thing about the justice system and the prison system.
Oof.
A fascinating movie, heavy movie, but really well done, and the ending is like gives you butterflies. The movie Promising Young Woman with Carey Mulligan, great revenge flick, had tons of fun with this one.
Yeah, I think we talked about reviewing that soon. Yeah, I definitely
want for sure. The Groundhog Day type movie with Andy Samberg in Palm Springs, that was a really fun movie. And lastly, this movie, like I knew I'd love it just because I'm a fan of the band, but the Beastie Boys story is actually amazing. Especially if you love the band, like. It's really just them giving a presentation to an audience, but there's this whole movie playing behind them, and they come out and in
Isn't
between.
It Spike
and talk
Jones
about it.
that directed this?
Yeah, and Spike Jones does it, and he's in here a little bit, which is super funny. But like just seeing the two guys, and they're super fun and charming and just energetic and like amazing. And then of course one of them's not there, and and there's that whole side of it. But like, it was just so much fun. I had so much fun watching it. Easily on my top 10.
Did
Loved
you
it.
read the book? This guy?
I did not.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's amazing. Because it's got like, it's essentially like a picture book. And it goes through everything from their punk days up until, I believe it culminates with the making of that movie.
Yeah, you get this great history of them when they got wrapped in with the frat boys, and then how they wanted to change and evolve as musicians and stuff like that. Because, Fight for Your Right to Party is a pretty misogynistic song, and
that record's that record has a lot of misogynistic stuff in it for sure.
Anyways, amazing history of an amazing band. So hey, if you guys liked what you saw / hear, please like and subscribe. Next week we are going to get into our Unusual Musicals Festival.
There you go.
To say, but fun to say. Unusual Musicals Festival. We're going to start off with all that jazz and get into some other weird stuff, and then we're going to have an amazing punishment review.
Ooh.
So I hope you look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Loved your flops this year, Sherlock.
Thanks, man. I loved your best of.
Awesome. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. $2020. Hell of a year.
Hell of a year. Yep. I think, this is hot. This is not a hot take.
it doesn't feel very, I don't know. It's, I really hope that there comes a point, and I don't know, I wonder throughout history, like, have there been times when people were like, it's all good, man. Everything's good. And there isn't this like kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, yeah, how much longer do we got to deal with this shit? And I found some video, talk about YouTube rabbit holes. It was a like a montage of morning news announcements 20 minutes before 9/11. And it was like, it was the most like, not a lot, beautiful fall day today. Boy, you couldn't ask for a more beautiful fall day. Up next, we have the most adorable dog paddling puppies. You've got to see this, Janine. They're teaching dogs how to swim. Like, it was the slowest news morning. And then one newscaster was actually like, pretty quiet. And then he goes, you know what they say, too quiet. And it was literally like, you're like, duh, that's bad. But it was like the morning of September 11th, 2001, like 20 minutes before everything happened. And like, just watching it, you were like, whoa, like they had Al Roker and he was like, just, these are the kind of days that you wish for, people. Beautiful September morning. Feels more like July. Like, it was amazing. And I was just like, okay, so there was a time when people were like, not a lot of news, pretty boring. And I'm like, okay, I mean, granted, it was like over 20 years ago, but...
Yeah, I'm definitely pining for squirrels water skiing right now.
Right? Just like the most, like, just a leisurely stroll through an afternoon of a day, right? Just... We're gonna do 15 minutes coming up about the leaves changing in the canyon. Like, wouldn't that be
right
amazing?
back?
Yeah.
See you next year.
Yeah.